I stood in my parents' living room, hands trembling slightly as I gripped my carefully prepared business proposal. The leather portfolio felt heavy with the weight of my dreams, detailed market research, financial projections, and a complete blueprint for revolutionizing the construction software industry. At 26, I had spent 3 years at Morgan Stanley, learning everything I could about business while secretly building my startup idea at night. Software for construction sites. My father's voice carried that familiar tone of dismissal as he flipped through my proposal without really reading it. Michael, this is just another tech bubble waiting to burst. My mother sat on their expensive leather couch, barely glancing at the documents I'd spent months preparing. Instead, her eyes kept darting to the kitchen where my older brother David was excitedly discussing his plans for an upscale restaurant in downtown Boston. But Dad, look at the market research, I insisted, pulling out the competitor analysis. Construction companies are still using outdated systems. My software would streamline everything from project management to resource allocation. I only need $200,000 in seed funding. $200,000. My father's laugh cut through my explanation like a knife. That's exactly what David needs for his restaurant. At least with a restaurant, we can see and touch our investment. I swallowed hard. The software prototype is already built. I have 3 potential clients ready to. Michael, my mother interrupted, her voice carrying that patronizing tone she perfected over the years. You have a stable job at Morgan Stanley. Why risk everything on some computer program? Your brother's restaurant is a real business. As if on cue, David walked in from the kitchen, his culinary school degree proudly framed under his arm. Mom, Dad, I found the perfect location. Right in the heart of the financial district. All those wealthy bankers. He paused, finally noticing the tension in the room. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt something? My father stood up, gathering my proposal into a messy pile. No, we were just finishing. Michael was telling us about his internet idea. He handed me back the portfolio, not even trying to keep the pages in order. Stick to your office job, son. Leave the entrepreneurship to your brother. He has the right instincts for business. I watched in silent disbelief as my father pulled out his checkbook, right there in front of me. David, let's get that location secured first thing tomorrow. $200,000 should cover the initial costs. The same amount I had asked for. The exact sum that could have launched my software company. But in their eyes, David's restaurant was a real business, while my tech startup was just a foolish dream. That night, I sat in my small apartment, staring at my laptop screen where my prototype software glowed with potential. 3 years of coding after work hours, countless sleepless nights, and endless research, all dismissed in less than 15 minutes. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Hey bro, thanks for coming today. Mom and Dad are so excited about the restaurant. You should stop by when we open. Family gets a 20% discount. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my email and typed out my resignation letter to Morgan Stanley. If my parents wouldn't fund my dream, I'd find another way. I had $50,000 saved up, not enough to launch full scale, but enough to get started. My hands weren't trembling anymore as I hit send. The next morning, I walked into my boss's office, resignation letter in hand. But before I could speak, she looked up from her computer with an odd expression. Michael, perfect timing. Please close the door. I sat down, letter still clutched in my hand, as she continued. I just received an interesting email. Apparently, you've been developing construction management software. My heart stopped. Had someone reported me for working on a personal project? One of our clients, Harrison Construction, mentioned they saw your prototype. They're very interested. She leaned forward. Why didn't you tell us you were working on this? I explained everything. The prototype, my vision for revolutionizing the industry, and yes, my plans to resign and pursue it full-time. To my surprise, she didn't seem angry. Instead, she smiled. What if I told you Morgan Stanley's venture capital division might be interested in backing you? 2 weeks later, I sat in a different meeting room, presenting to Morgan Stanley's venture capital team. This time, my audience actually read the proposal. This time, they asked detailed questions about scaling potential and market penetration. This time, they saw what my parents couldn't, a revolutionary idea that could transform an entire industry. We're prepared to offer $2 million in seed funding for a 20% stake, the lead investor announced at the end of my presentation. 10 times what I had asked for my parents. 10 times what they gave my brother for his restaurant. I accepted the deal on one condition. My involvement would remain confidential. I didn't want my family to know about Morgan Stanley's investment. Let them think I was foolishly pursuing a pipe dream. Let them believe I was making a huge mistake. Over the next 6 months, I worked harder than I ever had before. My startup, Construct Tech Solutions, grew from a simple prototype into a fully featured platform. We hired developers, sales teams, and industry experts. Every small success, every new client felt like a vindication. Meanwhile, David's restaurant, The Golden Fork, opened to great fanfare. My parents invited the entire family, proudly showing off the expensive decor and innovative menu. I attended the opening night, quietly watching as they bragged about their successful son who owns his own business. "And what about you, Michael?" my aunt asked during dinner. "Still working on that computer thing?" I nodded vaguely, not mentioning that earlier that day I had signed a contract with one of the largest construction companies in New England. Let them think I was struggling. The truth would come out soon enough. By the end of the first year, Construct Tech Solutions had expanded to 20 employees and our software was being used by 15 major construction companies. Our revenue hit $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million. Every success felt sweeter because it was earned without my family's support or knowledge. David's restaurant, despite its prime location and my parents' continuous financial support, struggled to turn a profit. The reviews were mixed, the expenses were high, and the competition in Boston's restaurant scene was fierce. Every few months, my parents would write another check to keep it afloat. "Fine dining is a tough business," they would say, defending their decision to invest more money. "David just needs time to establish himself." I said nothing, focusing instead on growing my company. Construct Tech Solutions expanded to new cities, hired more employees, and continued developing innovative features. Our client list grew, and with it, our reputation in the industry. Then came the day that changed everything. Forbes published an article about the top 30 under 30 entrepreneurs in technology. And there, alongside my photo, was the story of Construct Tech Solutions and its impressive growth. The article mentioned our latest valuation, $50 million. I was in a meeting when my phone started buzzing incessantly. Text messages from relatives, missed calls from my parents, emails from family friends. The secret was out, and the shockwaves were just beginning. The Forbes article changed everything. Within hours, my carefully constructed wall of privacy came crashing down. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with notifications, each message more desperate than the last. "Mom? Michael, why didn't you tell us? Call me immediately. Dad, son, we need to talk about your company. David, bro, $50 million? We should discuss some investment opportunities." I silenced my phone and focused on my afternoon meetings. Construct Tech Solutions was in the middle of launching a new project management module, and I wouldn't let family drama interfere with business. But I knew I couldn't avoid them forever. The next morning, my assistant Emma knocked on my office door, her expression a mix of amusement and concern. "Your parents are in the lobby. They don't have an appointment, but they're quite insistent." I looked out my floor-to-ceiling windows at the Boston skyline, remembering that day in our living room when they had dismissed my dreams so easily. Let them wait for 15 minutes, then send them up. When they finally entered my office, the shock on their faces was evident. The space was easily 4 times the size of their living room, with views of the harbor that even the most expensive restaurants in town couldn't match. Modern art adorned the walls, not prints, but originals. Success had its perks. "Michael," my mother stepped forward, arms outstretched for a hug I didn't return. "Why didn't you tell us? We're your parents." I gestured to the sleek conference table rather than my personal desk. "Let them be visitors, not family. What can I do for you?" My father, never one to waste time, got straight to the point. "Son, we've been thinking. Your brother's restaurant needs a new direction, and with your success." He pulled out a folder, how ironic, and placed it on the table. "We have a proposal for you." I opened the folder, already knowing what I'd find. A business plan for expanding the Golden Fork into a chain of restaurants, with Construct Tech Solutions as the primary investor. The amount they were asking for, $2 million. "David has great vision," my mother added quickly. "He just needs proper funding. And who better to invest than family?" I closed the folder without reading further. Like when I needed funding 5 years ago? The silence that followed was deafening. My father shifted uncomfortably in his chair. That was different. We didn't understand the potential of your software thing. No, I corrected him. You didn't try to understand. There's a difference. I stood up and walked to my display wall, where I'd framed my original business proposal, the same one they had dismissed so casually. Next to it hung our first client contract, and beside that, the Morgan Stanley investment agreement. Did you know that after you rejected my proposal, Morgan Stanley invested $2 million in Construct Tech? 10 times what I asked from you. 10 times what you gave David. I turned back to face them. They saw the potential because they actually looked for it. My mother's face fell. But we're family. Surely that counts for something. Family? I couldn't help but laugh. When I worked 80-hour weeks building this company, where was family? When I ate ramen noodles to save money for servers, where was family? When I needed support, encouragement, or just someone to believe in me, where was family? I pulled up our company's latest financial reports on the wall screen. Construct Tech Solutions now serves over 200 major construction companies across the country. We're expanding internationally next quarter. Our valuation isn't just $50 million anymore. That article was written 3 months ago. We're now valued at $75 million. My father's eyes widened at the numbers. Son, we may have made a mistake before, but we're here now. Let us be part of your success. I sat back down, straightening my tie, a habit I developed before making important business decisions. You know what the hardest part of building this company was? Not the coding, not the sleepless nights, not even finding clients. It was knowing that my own parents had so little faith in me that they wouldn't even properly read my business proposal. I opened my laptop and pulled up the latest data on the Golden Fork. Your restaurant lost $180,000 last year. The year before that, $150,000. You've invested an additional $600,000 since opening, and it's still failing. Do you know why? They stayed silent as I continued. Because you threw money at it without proper planning. Because David had no real business experience. Because a good recipe doesn't automatically make a good business. Just then, Emma knocked and entered with a folder. Perfect timing. We had choreographed this. Mr. Anderson, the acquisition papers for the Golden Fork are ready for your review. My parents' faces went pale. Acquisition papers? My mother whispered. I took the folder from Emma. 2 weeks ago, David approached our company's subsidiary, Urban Dining Ventures, about selling the restaurant. He didn't know it was my company. He was desperate, looking for any way out. I opened the folder to reveal David's signature. He sold it for $400,000, a fraction of what you've invested. He sold it, without telling us. My father's voice cracked. Like how I built a multi-million-dollar company without telling you. I countered. The difference is, I succeeded. I stood up, signaling that the meeting was ending. The acquisition will proceed. Urban Dining Ventures specializes in turning around failing restaurants. We'll keep the staff, renovate the space, and implement proper business practices. Perhaps we'll even make it profitable. And David, my mother asked quietly, will be offered a position as head chef, his true talent, without the burden of running a business he was never prepared for. I walked to the door. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for family is to stop enabling their mistakes. My father stood, his shoulders slumped in defeat. We were wrong about you, Michael. Very wrong. Yes, you were. I opened the door. Emma will show you out. Any further communication up the Golden Fork should go through our legal department. After they left, I sat in my office as the sun set over Boston Harbor, casting an orange glow across the city. My phone buzzed. A message from David. Just found out about Urban Dining Ventures. Thank you. I should have listened to you years ago. I smiled slightly and opened my company's stock portfolio app. A few taps, and done. I had transferred $100,000 in Construct Tech shares to a trust for my future nieces and nephews. They shouldn't have to suffer for their father's mistakes or their grandparents' poor judgment. Success, I had learned, wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about knowing when to help, when to step back, and most importantly, when to forgive, even if you never forget. The next morning, I called a company-wide meeting. Standing before my team of now 150 employees, I announced our next project, a scholarship program for young entrepreneurs. focusing on those whose families couldn't or wouldn't support their dreams. Sometimes I told them, the most important investment isn't money, it's belief. And sometimes the best revenge isn't proving others wrong, but making sure their mistakes aren't repeated. As I looked out at their eager faces, I realized that my parents' rejection had given me something invaluable: the determination to succeed not just for myself, but for every other dreamer whose family couldn't see their potential. That evening, as I left the office, I passed the framed Forbes article hanging in our lobby. My eyes caught the quote they had used: "Success isn't inherited, it's earned." I had earned every bit of mine, and that made it all the sweeter. The next week, the Golden Fork closed for renovations. The new sign went up a month later: Fork and Code, a tech-themed restaurant that would serve as both a profitable business and a reminder that success comes in many forms, even if your family can't see it at first. And my parents? They learned a valuable lesson about judgment and opportunity. Sometimes the child you underestimate the most becomes the one who changes not just their own future, but the future of an entire industry. As for me, I kept building, innovating, and growing Construct-Tech solutions. Because success isn't just about reaching the top, it's about what you do once you get there. And I have plans, big plans, for helping others climb their own mountains regardless of who believed in them at the start.